Welcome to the EYE Evaluation Observation Training. You should have viewed the Overview and Getting Started training prior to viewing this training. By the end of the training, you will understand the responsibility of the teacher and the mentor in conducting EYE observations and communicating that information. On the site in SharePoint, there is, under Documents, Forms. These are the Standard 1 and Standard 3 observations referred to in the Getting Started training. If you'll recall, these are the Utah Professional Teacher Standards, and observations are referring to Standard 1 and Standard 3. The other standards are being evaluated in a different format. Prior to an observation, a teacher needs to request, or a mentor can request, that a pre-observation conference is held. Now, this can be conducted in many different ways. If you prefer a phone call, that's perfect. If you have the opportunity to have a face-to-face meeting with your teacher and mentor, that's also fine. If you want to use the blog, which will be clear after you viewed the portfolio training, you can do that in that format. So there's no right or wrong way to conduct the pre-observation conference pre-observation conference. What's important about it is that this discussion be posted in the teacher's Weebly blog prior to the mentor viewing the recorded session. These are questions that should be guideline questions to speaking with the teacher prior to observing the recorded session. This gives the teacher an opportunity to indicate what their purpose was in the session. How are you going to observe that? What was the specific objective of the lesson? What strategies or methods they were using or attempting to use? And were they able to assess whether or not the learners reached the objective? Are there any concerns that you would like the observer to address? So perhaps there was something in the recorded session that is concerning or bothersome to the teacher, and this is where he or she would indicate it and discuss it with their mentor. The research has shown that this is a very important part of the evaluation process, so it should not be put off or skipped. It needs to be conducted, and the key here is it needs to be conducted prior to the mentor viewing the Illuminate recorded session. And then the evidence that this discussion took place needs to be posted on the teacher's blog. Again, these questions could be cut and pasted into the blog with teacher posting the answers, or just a simple entry of here's what we discussed, here's what the teacher indicated, here is what I asked. Anything that gives evidence that this conversation took place prior to the mentor viewing the recorded session. So that's the pre-observation conference. Once the pre-observation conference has taken place and the teacher has posted the Blackboard recorded session, which you'll see also in the portfolio training, then the mentor needs to come and select either the Standard 1 observation or the Standard 3. And as pointed out in the calendar, the Standard 1 has a due date already. Standard 3 will be coming on the calendar soon. But the mentor would come here and say, I've had my pre-observation conference, I'm ready to pull up the teacher's recorded session and view it and complete the evaluation form, which is located here. You click on the evaluation form and it takes you to a form that you need to complete. It's very self-explanatory. Click Submit. And then this information comes to the EYE coordinator, and it gives a record of all of the teachers and their observation. So there's nothing more for the teacher to save or keep track of. This is the evidence that the observation took place. But there's one more part to this evaluation, and that is the post-observation conference. Following the evaluation, the mentor needs to take time to communicate with the teacher what they saw in their observation. And this is the guideline form for how to do that. Again, it needs to happen after the mentor has viewed the recorded session, and it needs to be useful feedback, which there are some guidelines here to what is considered useful feedback. So, do all of these need to happen? Yes, in some form or another. These should be the tools and the things that a good evaluator remembers as they are providing feedback to a level 1 teacher. Again, this information needs to be posted on the teacher's blog so that it's very clear that this conference took place after the evaluation was completed. It can be the format of the mentor posting on the blog their discussion. It can be the teacher posting with the mentor inserting comments or commenting on it after the teacher. But the goal of this post-observation conference is for the teacher to understand what the evaluator saw in the observation. And again, it's a critical point, according to research, that this post-observation conference take place. And now it's come full circle. We saw what the teacher intended to do, we saw what the teacher did, and we communicate what an evaluator noticed or took note of after viewing the observation or viewing the recorded session. So now it should be very clear what a teacher and mentor's responsibilities are in terms of observations. Let's go to so there are only 2 observations per year. This year you will be conducting a Standard 1 and a Standard 3 observation. And Standard 1 observation is coming due following the examination of this site in the week of October 3rd. So there's a whole week to get it done, and it can be on any lesson that a teacher decides to record. However, it needs to be, as indicated in the overview, in the teacher's area of concentration. So a welcome session or a parent session or a class meeting would not be an appropriate recording. It needs to be, if it's a math teacher, a math lesson, a language arts teacher, a language arts lesson, etc. If the mentor feels that the recorded session that the teacher posted to have them view is not appropriate or it is not in their content area, that would be discussed in the pre-observation conference, and another recording would need to be posted so that the mentor can look at the teacher teaching in their content area. Thank you for joining me for the Evaluation Observations training.